The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 years, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Hey.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, Bitcoin price surges after Trump pauses higher duties on most nations. As we discussed this week right here on the World Crypto Network, the market was plummeting as Donald Trump's administration had forced tariffs on the entire world. Originally, they claimed that these tariffs were to return factories to the United States, which meant that the tariffs would have to last for at least the entire term. Why would you move a factory if they were going to change their mind on the tariff within the week? It turned out they changed their mind on the tariff within the week. Donald Trump's administration paused most tariffs, allegedly also keeping them at 10% rise. I don't know. And they say they're currently having a trade war with China. The last was, we'll raise it on you 50, they'll raise it 100, we'll raise it 120. The price of Bitcoin was 83,729. That's up 4.92% just today. $1 equals 1,194 Satoshis, very close to the 1,000 Satoshi barrier. The high was 84,140, the low 78,888. The Dow Jones Industrial Average started off a little shaky and had a shaky day yesterday, but ended up high at 40,212. That's up 1.56%. Not back to where it was maybe just a few weeks ago, but up out of there. We see a V-shaped recovery in the Dow Jones from when he made his decision. As it says here, the Dow on Friday, that's just today, breaking, jumps 600 points, capping one of the most volatile weeks on Wall Street ever. So we're going to you, Dan. Are you ready? Up in the air, messing with your lights. We've had everything this week. We had tariffs on, we had tariffs off. The market seems to have recovered, but obviously we have no such thing as certainty or stability. What do you think about Bitcoin this week?
It has been a roller coaster. Well, I mean, the last couple of months has been a roller coaster. I did see a funny meme today, actually, that was Trump superimposed onto Mr. Miyagi, and it said "tariff on, tariff off." But I mean, there's a lot of people that have been greatly impacted by this, and the hopping back and forth. It seems like, they said that initially it was his plan, or they've come out and said it was his plan all along, but that kind of seems like they're just saying that because some of the markets pumped a bit, and I don't know. And there's also the insider trading thing where everyone kind of bought just before the Nasdaq spiked, just before the announcement went out. Which was even an announcement to his own kind of crew, right? It went out on Truth Social. I did read that it went to subscribe.
If you paid for Truth Social, you got his inside message. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems a bit dodgy, and it's really not the ride everyone was hoping for when the optimists were looking for Trump to be really positive with crypto, maybe to mess around with tariffs, and everyone knew he was going to be playing the other countries along and playing games and stuff. But crypto hasn't done so favorably. But then again, like in previous markets, right? There's an initial pump after the halvening, and then the early months of the year, there's a bit of a low, and then everything hits a kind of all-time high around October, November, December, that sort of time. So we seem to be in that sideways territory. There's a lot of people massively panicking that this is it. The pattern isn't repeating the same way as it has done before. History isn't rhyming in the same way, and this time it's different. But it seems, I don't know, I'm optimistic. I think we're still going to get another all-time high this year. I don't know about the 250Ks. That would be incredible if we reached it. Poor old Ethereum still hasn't hit an all-time high since 2021. So I think everyone deserves a bit of a break. But there was all that meme, the meme craze last year. A lot of people getting rugged over ridiculous coins. There's still see people tweeting about fart coin and stuff. But that kind of exploded or imploded, as it were, and a lot of people got burnt. But in a way, it was kind of a good thing that that happened, because it was going too far. There were too many, the whole thing needed to collapse in order for people to actually realize that there's a lot of scams in the game again. And every now and then you need that reminder, right, in crypto, that there's just an absolute flood of scams everywhere. And it was a niche that had a bit of a run, but unfortunately memes are gone. Maybe we're going back to actual utility for the non-Bitcoin stuff and actual projects that do something useful. Yeah, but hopefully Bitcoin will pump back to all-time highs and beyond.
It was quite a crazy week, Dan. We had so much happen. Depending on your point of view and your politics, you might think this is brilliant art of the deal negotiation, which they decided afterwards. During the thing, they said that tariffs were fantastic and that you should support the nation and support the tariffs like you should the war effort. Meanwhile, a lot of people wondered why they were using this quadruple formula, why they were taxing that country that only has penguins, stuff like that. So it seems like a pretty fast 180 there, get a whiplash. As they're saying in the chat, I agree, it was the bond market. We don't know who. Some people have said Canada. The default answer is, of course, China, but it would be devilish and it would be against their interest as they own much of that United States debt. But somebody started selling lots of US debt on the bond market and it was up 10%, the rate. So after that, Trump caved the next day. So that's real warfare when the countries start selling each other's debt, not just messing with trade, which is a measure on top of that. Like Dan said, we've had the really obvious insider trading. The NASDAQ and other indexes spiked. They've got Marjorie Taylor Greene and other Congress people selling before the tariffs, buying right before they're put on. And if you were a subscriber to the Truth Social Donald Trump account, I don't know how much it costs, but about 3 hours before, he said, today is a great day to buy stocks. And he even said DJT, which used to be easy. You could write it off, say, hey, that's his initials. He's just signing it for no reason because he's old fashioned. But unfortunately, he also has a coin now that has a ticker like that went up, I don't know, 30% that morning. So insider trading seems really obvious. If it'll be punished, seems really unlikely. As it happens, a lot of people are like, ha ha ha, this is so fun. They crashed the world's markets, but it's not that funny to people that are retiring, that might have sold, people that freaked out, people might have hurt themselves, stock market people, traders, other stuff like that. It's just not funny. It's not fun. It's not funny. And now everyone's being calm and we're all being cool. The price is back up. But really what they've said is they're going to go through and remake every trade deal with every country on earth. So I don't know how long that's going to take. The views I've seen says that the market is not going to wait for that. They're not going to wait the rest of the administration to get these trade deals back on course. They want clarity, right? They want to know if the market's going to go up because it's good time or the markets are going to go down because it's a bad time. And it is such a whipsaw, such a shift between last week when they're talking about the people are going to have to go through economic hardship and it's going to be a long tariff fight and we're going to rebuild manufacturing and Americans are going to be screwing iPhones together, to this week where it's like, we just fooled everyone on the tariffs. You're all a bunch of suckers and we fooled you. And I think that I wish that was true, that their plan was to fool us. It does seem like, as far as on the money-making side, that was true. But with the rest of it, I just don't know. And again, it's not going to provide any clarity or any stability for anyone. Dan, what do you think? Did they have a plan all along? Or was this just flying by the seat of their pants? The bond market starts tinking the market, goes down 4 days in a row. Everybody's writing them letters. The countries are begging to get their trade back on. Was it a plan?
I think a lot of this is just, it's going to be retrofitting whatever explanation afterwards that fits the bill, right? And I do think it's very politicized. So if you're anti-Trump, then you're going to be saying that it always wasn't part of the plan. If you're pro-Trump, it's always going to be part of the plan, right? So I think there's obviously that level of politicization, but ultimately this could lead, for the rest of the world, this could lead to some better trade deals. You've already got the EU trying to renegotiate. I think with Canada, they've started putting things on the table there. So perhaps there will be some good out of it. That I'm ever the optimist, right? So I try and look at things neutrally. So although this is bad, maybe this will be good for for actually the rest of the world reaching better trade deals than there already are, which could globally bring down prices. Now, whether that's part of the plan or not, that's just a side effect of what's happening. And whether America actually loses out ultimately because that they've kind of cut various ties and burnt a few bridges here and there, that's yet to be seen. But what is happening in the rest of the world is we're seeing other trade deals happening, and hopefully they're going to be bringing these rates down, which will drive costs down of and prices down of other goods. Well, as in general, though, I mean, even today there was the news about Singapore MPs are trying to push their government to give a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So there is a bit of a ripple effect happening there with these. And I think even a school in the UK is the first school, like a private school, that said that they're going to accept Bitcoin for their, strategic Bitcoin reserve. So that is becoming a bit of a buzzword, right? Of 2025, there's lots of companies, there's lots of institutions and organizations and potentially countries that are trying to hedge their bets and have a Bitcoin reserve. So it is bad ultimately what's happened with the markets. Everything's tanked. I hear what you're saying. People with pensions, very uncertain futures that they've had to deal with different sell-offs. People that are trying to move house, things like that. The environment's very unstable at the moment. But ultimately, things that when the dust settles, hopefully Bitcoin is obviously going to prevail out of all of it, and the rest of the markets will recover eventually.
I think you're right, Dan. There's been a lot of gains by other countries, not the United States. People are talking about putting Canada in the EU. China is pretty much coming in and taking up all of the soft power, all of the places where the United States used to offer humanitarian aid. Now they're getting it from China, which means when they want to do their next trade deal, who are they going to make a deal with? The United States is a big jerk, or their pal China. So I think it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. But we're going to move on to issue 2. Keep on moving. Issue 2. Bitcoin to hit $250,000 a coin this year, and the Magnificent Seven to adopt stablecoins. Oh, Cardano founder predicts $250,000 Bitcoin this year. Various factors would drive this. Also, they say that the Magnificent Seven, that's what they're calling, they used to call it FANG, stuff like that. They're calling it mega tech stocks, includes Apple and Amazon, will begin using stablecoins once key legislation is passed. I wonder why they would use stablecoins. Let's address that one first. Maybe they would use stablecoins to get around regulations about using US dollars. If they're using stablecoins in their app, maybe it's not as tied to US. Maybe they can get around the taxes or some kind of creative accounting. So I don't know what that's going to be, but I don't know that that's going to be anything good for the consumers. I don't think they're going to use stablecoins to save you money. That seems unlikely. As for this 250K prediction from the Cardano founder, we've talked for a while about how everybody's trying to get on board with a larger prediction, but nobody can get larger than Mad Bitcoins. Mad Bitcoins predicted infinity dollars. Infinity dollars equals 1 Bitcoin. That eventually the entire world be classed and priced in Bitcoin, and it'll be denominated in Bitcoin. And you won't want to trade dollars anymore. You'll just trade your Bitcoin for stuff. So I don't know about this 250K thing. Again, I've been foolishly or not foolishly following this tech dev guy on Twitter, and he keeps saying there's another bump out there. He keeps saying that it's not the top of the great bull run from the halvening and that we're still going to go up. And I'm such a perma bull and a sucker or whatever, so I keep believing this. But I like the idea that more people are thinking it's coming true and they're writing articles. And whatever Hoskins doing, they're doing God's work every time they say the price of Bitcoin's going up. That's good work. Dan, Eve, what do you think? $250,000 a coin, even given the economic turmoil and the sheer madness going on outside?
I would love to see that, definitely. Obviously, and the historically we haven't hit the all-time high until like about 12 to 14 months after, or 12 to 16 months after the halvening. So it does seem we're in that sideways territory now. We have seen 100, I think it was $100 trillion. The Twitter guy has had to readjust his charts again, because I think we should have been at 250 already. And maybe if the market turmoil kind of hadn't have happened, the Trump Melania pump coins and maybe the meme super cycle that we saw last year, or maybe we're not even in the super cycle yet, according to that. I can't remember his name now, but that guy that loves the meme super cycle. Maybe if those kind of rug pulls hadn't have happened, we would see a more
I
confident.
thought it was going to be a hyper wave and we were all going to go surfing super cycles.
Yeah. But if I think those rug pulls hadn't have happened, there would be a bit more investor confidence, because even though Bitcoin is nothing to do with these meme coins, it still gets tied in ultimately, and that gets a bad name. But what hasn't stopped is more companies adopting Bitcoin. I mean, MasterCard, I think, announced yesterday they've or a few days ago, they've partnered up with Kraken, and they're a $500 billion company themselves. So we've obviously got the Magnificent Seven, but then we've got these huge payment providers that are starting to dip their toes fully into Bitcoin. And that's when we could see a lot bigger rollout of imagine anywhere that there's MasterCard now, MasterCard then put on any new machines, Bitcoin accepted here via MasterCard. So maybe they come out with some sort of funky logo with some sort of MasterCard and Bitcoin on it, or something crazy like that to kind of advertise it. So we're seeing all of that pushing forward, all the infrastructure moving as usual, even though the price is kind of kicking sideways and kicking that can down the street. I'm hopeful. I reckon October to December, we're going to see some crazy highs, hopefully beyond 250K. But certainly, I don't think we've hit all-time high yet this cycle.
I did see the announcement with Kraken and MasterCard, but I've just become so jaded at this point. I think every single exchange, crypto.com, anybody else has at one point had a big deal with MasterCard and tried to pimp it. I think a lot of the altcoins have had deals with various little parts of Visa or MasterCard and then claimed it was the big thing. So I'm pretty tired of that. They say last time that SBF killed our rally and that the collapse of FTX took the second top from us. Maybe Trump killed the rally this time. I don't think we know. I think we're still in a midpoint here. People are ecstatic that the tariffs have allegedly gone away, although it still seems like on paper there's 10% across the board and a really hot trade war with China. Obviously, we get a lot of stuff from China, as people have been talking about this trade deficits. We buy a lot of things from China. They don't buy a lot of things from us. They're really good at making cheap stuff. There's reasons for these trade imbalances. It's not just like they're ripping us off.
Have you seen all the memes of like the AI video memes from the Chinese showing like Americans in factories like doing sewing and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, they're
the meme
incredible.
war's strong.
They're so mean, and all the Americans are like 300 pounds and wagging their t-shirts and stuff, and it's so disheartening because it's partially true. Like, we have a lot of obesity, we have very bad food in this country, we have very low workout rates, and so forth. But it is kind of, I mean, it's fun for the Chinese, like, ah ha ha, they're poking the American, but at the same time, you're making your own people work in those factories for real. Like the whole thing with the screwing in stuff and the boring and the like horrible music and like everything, that's happening to your people right now. And sure, they have to do it to globalize, to get a level up, to build up and all that. There's, you have to break eggs to make an omelet and all that. But yeah, it has been funny with China doing that. Let's move on to the exit question. They say 250K. How much do you say? Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week, predicting against the Bitcoin ball? Obviously, I'm a terrible predictor. I wish that I would publish my sells so that you guys could do the opposite. You'd have one of those bots. It's like doing the opposite of what Tom thinks all the time. You would make a fortune. Like, you would do really well.
Like the inverse Kramer.
Exactly. Every single time. And it's not meaningful. I'm always like, I'm freaked at the wrong time. I'm excited at the wrong time for this markets. Even these days, I don't know what we're doing. But I say higher. Dan, what do you say? Higher or lower?
Yeah, I'm going higher. I think yeah, we've got this 90-day pause. Hopefully, unless there's no more bombshells, we're going to see a bit more of a confidence in the markets, and hopefully decoupling from the markets, right? Because that's what we're all after. We're fed up of coupling with every other market. Bitcoin needs to be excelling on its own now.
I don't think we're going to be decoupling anytime soon. We have all their money in us. Like we said before, if we take all their money, we're going to link with them. But that's more of the next issue. Let's see. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? It is certain. It is certain. The ball has spoken.
Yeah.
So there you go. Higher next week. Set your things. Hey, check out worldcryptonetwork.com. We've got new shorts from last week with Wasim and Victoria and Josh. More than just my face, and Gideon and Ben. Finally, more than just my face at worldcryptonetwork.com. Check out the shorts. Moving on to issue 3, Dave Portnoy, the pizza guy, says what many are thinking. If Bitcoin's supposed to be independent of the dollar, why does it trade just like the stock market? Meanwhile, gold and Bitcoin have decoupled. We used to be tight. Now we're not. Gold price kept going up throughout the downturn of tariffs as people saw it as a way out of the market. Bitcoin, however, is still seen as a risk-on asset. Dan, why answer the pizza man's question? If Bitcoin is so different, why does it trade just like the stock market?
Well, I think it's just because that when investors are scared, they become scared for everything. And you've got the hardcore Bitcoiners that will actually put their money and they keep their Bitcoin, they'll never sell it. They'll stack sats and never sell. But when retail and when other fund managers come in, especially when they come in new, they're not really kind of clued up on why Bitcoin is better money. They're just buying it as an asset because of speculation. Funnily enough, they're the speculators rather than actually knowing why Bitcoin is a more sound money. They get freaked out just like normal people in the stock market. So I think until that education process happens and until it's ingrained in everyone's mind why Bitcoin is better than fiat money, why it's better than stocks, then we are going to see that capital flight as soon as the markets are spooked. But I think also on the I think back at the divergence from gold. At the end of the day, gold is still the gold. We used to have the gold standard, right? So there's still going to be a bit more of a coupling between gold than there should be than the stock market, because gold is more of a safe haven asset rather than stocks, right? So that's why we have that coupling there. How long it's going to take for that to happen? We're going to need more countries and bigger countries than having proper strategic reserves than just kind of speculation or countries announcing they're going to do it. I think before we see a proper decoupling, there's going to need to be big nation states involved in Bitcoin, stacking it and trading with it as well. And I think part of the news of the recent trade wars and the tariff wars was that I read that China and Russia start to trade, settle in Bitcoin for certain assets. I think it was oil or something like that. So until we see more of that happening, not China and Russia, but just in general, like assets being settled in gold, then in Bitcoin, then the decoupling is still going to take time. Hyper-Bitcoinization.
I think what Portnoy is after there is what you're talking about, Dan. He wants Bitcoin to be like gold. He wants Bitcoin to be a safe haven where you can say, okay, I can put my money there. It's going to go up or down and you'll be fine. And I had the same feeling too. I was like, Trump's coming in. He's going to wreck everything, but not Bitcoin, because that's my special little thing. And maybe not Ethereum because they're buying a ton of it. And boy, am I wrong on both counts, right? They wrecked Bitcoin, they wrecked Ethereum, they wrecked the stock market where all their friends invest. But they gave them some little tricks, and we'll see if that's a problem in the future, so on and so forth. But the thing about Bitcoin, and every time that I freak out and panic sell, I always have the thought first. I'm like, this is worth $1 million a coin. This is the future money of the world. They're going to be cutting up little pieces of sub-Satoshis for 100 years, and I'm selling it now for nothing. But the problem is the belief that I have and maybe you have is not widespread yet. Not everyone understands Bitcoin, how it works, so on and so forth. There's people still out there. I guess we didn't grab the issue today, but there are people saying that it doesn't need to be a currency. And a guy wrote a big article in the new CoinDesk Pay for Play magazine where you have 3 articles left. It's as bad as the New York Times, which pretty much turned me off discussing his article. But what he was saying is he was trying to fight back against Jack Dorsey's wise words, saying that Bitcoin needs to be a currency. That currency is a part of this. It's not just it's a digital gold that you can put into your safe deposit box or you can put into your ETF and you can just store in a box in a vault forever and never move around. It's digital gold with a payments network, with a network, a way to send it around the internet. And this is an incredible, valuable thing that we should not give up on. We should not just cut it off like a vestigial tail and say, oh yeah, Bitcoin, people used to send that around. They used to spend it and they just forgot. And they said they liked holding it as gold forever and ever and doing nothing instead. And that's not what this is built for. That's not how networks and the internet work. There is a need for people to get money that's not government and send it across the internet for low cost with no third party. And sure, that doesn't match the bank's need. They don't have a need for, under the table transactions or the ability to send money to causes that might not be popular, so on and so forth. But clearly people using money have that need, and they're going to keep looking for a better money, and eventually they're going to find Bitcoin. So I think the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet, as William Gibson said. Dan, what do you think for an exit question? Bitcoin and gold. What would you rather have going forward, Bitcoin or gold? Gold has been safe. Bitcoin is up and down. Which way would you go?
I'm obviously Bitcoin. Now, I'm still really waiting for the news where we start mining for gold in moon rocks or what, not moon rocks necessarily, but on asteroids, and suddenly the supply of gold just gets completely blown out of the water. I think that's coming in got to be in the next 10 to 20 years. The way the space flight is kind of accelerating the technology there. But one thing that is happening is that we do seem to be still trailing the M2 global money supply, right? And if that is, it does seem to be a pattern that's emerging. And if that is true, then we should be hitting like, I don't know, 100, looking at, I think it was 130k plus, like based on the current values now, based on historic values. So pretty soon. So I think that if we are still trailing, and one thing that we're talking about coupling, if we're still coupling in a trailing couple of the M2 money supply, then we're expecting a pump pretty soon. Hopefully for summer.
I would
soon. Blimey,
it's hot. It's hot enough here, Dan. It's hot enough here to be.
No, it feels like summer, man. It's been 20 degrees up in England.
That's right. I would want the Bitcoin too, for much of what I said in the last answer. If you think about the gold, it's there, it's in your vault, it can't be moved around. If you think about the Bitcoin, you could go access it in your vault. You could send it all the way across the world. You could split it up into 5 parts. You could send it to 5 different people. There's this network that allows you to send it, that makes it an internet thing. All the internet things that I've been into the past, from MP3s, MP4s, compressing video, compressing audio, all these things, they go viral like crazy because they're internet things, because you can replicate them. There's nothing viral about gold. There's nothing viral about the way it moves around so slowly and it's so heavy. If you ever have to deal with a legacy banking system again, they're like, oh, we'll send some money, but it's going to take 3 or 4 days. And we got limits. You can only send a couple grand. Like, everything is very controlled, and that's the gold system times 1,000 because of the weight of actually carrying around the bars and the senselessness. I remember I bought some silver at like PorkFest a million years ago at the Libertarian Convention, and I have no idea where that silver is. It's in a box somewhere. I don't know. Whereas like real money, like stocks and Bitcoin and stuff like that, you keep better track of it. It goes up in value. Gold and silver seems like these collectibles you have to hold for 100 years for them to be valuable. So,
well, the other thing is on technology, not just mining it in space, but I really think that technology is going to improve so much in detecting gold on Earth, like reserves that we never thought we'd actually have. That the supply is probably way bigger than they think now. Just like how when I was growing up, in the 80s, you'd hear that the oil would run out by like the year 20, the year 2000, and then they were like the year 2020, and then they're like, they keep on extending it slightly because they've got different ways of extracting oil and finding oil and stuff like that. And I think we're going to see the same with gold, right? There's going to be technology that can find it in different places, extract it in different places. Obviously not alchemy, but just actual ways of retrieving gold and realizing actually that there's probably a lot more gold on Earth that we have, let alone what's out there in the solar system.
Well, and to echo Starship Schrodinger in the chat, it's not just gold buried underground, it's gold buried in sunken ships, which more and more submarines, more and more drones, and we will be
Yes.
able to find that. So that's going to be fascinating stuff. Let's keep moving. Go on to issue 4. MicroStrategy could be forced to dump Bitcoin. Under these circumstances, Michael Saylor responds. Well, I don't think there's that much to this. I'll take it first, Dan. We've always been making fun of MicroStrategy because he says, oh, I'm going to hodl forever, and oh, I'm invincible, and I'm the strongest hodler. And in many ways, that's true. He's a millionaire. He has tons of money, he has houses and whatever. He's not like you or me where you have to pay rent and then you have to sell, right? He's MicroStrategy. He's the big internet guy from the 90s. But on the other hand, and this is what this article says and the discussion this week has led to, he has a board of directors. They bought Bitcoin at a certain price. If the price of Bitcoin goes down below a certain price, his board of directors is going to make him sell. No big deal. Like, we're not saying it's a big deal, but the problem is it's this deception. It's this whole like, I'm the greatest hodler in the land, when you're just as big a hodler as your board of directors will let you be. Hey, it's a small difference. Dan, what do you think? MicroStrategy, strategy, not so big anymore. If the price goes down, he sells, the same way that even Elon Musk could get called out of Tesla or one of his other systems if it goes down enough, which is not happening now, that things seem to have turned. But yes, what do you think, Dan?
But I think ultimately he's done a lot of good for Bitcoin in terms of promoting it, but there is a bit of a not a bottleneck, but it's too many eggs in one basket, right? With MicroStrategy, one company that's holding a lot of Bitcoin, and the risk there is quite big. And then there's the additional risk that most of that isn't it being held by Coinbase, who are custodians for a bunch of other as well. So there's definitely a lot of risk with one custodian, or and one company holding so much Bitcoin. If they get margin called, then I think there's going to be some huge sell-off. And you make a really good point that it's not going to be his decision. It's going to be ultimately out of his hands. There's shareholders that and a board that really swing things, and that's going to be quite a big problem if Bitcoin does dump a lot more. But maybe I don't know. I think that we can't, once we hit 100K again and we float above it a little, we're not going to go lower. I can't see us dipping to even down to anything below 60 anymore. I think that's just a thing of the past, right? There would have to be a huge issue that coming out of left field that makes it drop. And isn't it usually about a maximum of 30 to 40% in previous halvenings, between the all-time high after the halvening and then the final all-time high before the next halvening? And we've already done that by going from 108 whatever it was down to 70 something. So that's quite a huge drop. Seeing 60 and below is I think that gone are those days now, fingers crossed. But yeah, there is a lot of risk by having one company holding so much Bitcoin.
The day counters have definitely said that our rally is not long enough. They've done comparisons with previous rallies, and they say this one was 180 days, 200, 220, and we're not there yet. So day-wise, that might work. As for the rest of it, with MicroStrategy and price going up and so forth, if it could go down, I think we've seen this week anything can happen. Obviously, in a normal environment, I agree with Dan. I don't think the price of Bitcoin goes down. Normally, I don't think it ever should go down, but we don't live in a normal environment. We have, whether you like him or not, a very radical gentleman who makes decisions very quickly as president. There are rumors saying that they decided on the tariffs thing at 1 o'clock and they launched it at 4 o'clock. And that rocked the entire global economy. So while I look for things like if Bitcoin was technically broken, which I don't think is really possible, but I do think of it. I think, well, if it was broken, it would go to zero. It would grow to me buying it. Me and Andreas would buy the last.
I was gonna say Andreas would sweep it up, right?
Yeah, we're all sweeping it at a penny a piece and penny and a half or whatever. But if it's broken, it's broken. If it's going to get hacked out of our accounts the next day, what good is it to buy it at a penny? If it's cosmically or quantumly broken or any of those things. But it's not broken. It's the world that's broken. So yes, even just go back to Lord of the Rings, the most important lesson of the books that they left out of the movies is that you can't just stay at home. You can't just stay in the Shire, because even the Shire, evil came there, right? Evil conquered the home. So the lesson is you have to go out into the world and fight evil. You can't just stay at home. But we're running out of time on this issue. Let's go to bonus issues. Ross Ulbricht to speak at the world's largest Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas. Let's go to Dan E first. I know what I'm going to say on this. Dan, what do you think? Ross Ulbricht, allegedly the Dread Pirate Roberts from the Silk Road, freed by Trump's pardon, and the Bitcoiners and libertarians who helped get it, now speaking at the conference. What do you think?
Well, he's such a kind of main character in the Bitcoin early days, with Silk Road and the bust happening, and that kind of made worldwide news. It was pretty much it's pretty much around that time, I think, that it was just before then I learned about Bitcoin, and it was such a big thing right then. So a lot of people probably first heard of Bitcoin via the Silk Road bust and Ross Ulbricht, and I think it's quite cool. Whether you believe or not that he should have been released because of what Silk Road did sell, I think it's a cool story to tell, right? He's just I follow him on Twitter. He's just such a kind of nice, happy chap, right? He's not sour and bitter about the whole issue of being of being jailed. He's so thankful to be out, and he posts about his first sunset and things like that. It's just really nice content that he posts. So I'd be interested to watch him, actually, if I was to go there.
Well, Dan, you turned me around a little bit. I was going to rag him a little, but I'll root for him instead. I'll say maybe he comes to this speech, like Dan's saying, a changed man, and he makes the speech about prisoners' rights and how crappy it is in jail, and he becomes an advocate for that. And I take all this criticism off the board. But meanwhile, back here in reality land, I'm still waiting for the dollar Ross altcoin or the dollar Ross shitcoin company. So I think there's going to be an announcement in some way eventually where he's going to try to monetize this and turn it on. And to some degree, I support that. I think he got donations. I think that was a good way. But at another point, it ends like enough donations, enough like benefit of the doubt. I know they gave Charlie Shrem a bunch of fancy jobs back. I'm not sure how well it turned out. They gave Carpellis a fancy job back after he got out for the Mt. Gox thing. I'm not sure that went out. And again, the main thing here is that while many of us as Bitcoiners or libertarians see Ross as a hero, he was not released because he's a hero. The drug war is not over. They don't see Ross as this principled person standing up for the right of people to do whatever they want with their bodies. Like we see that, right? Other people don't see that. So in that way, I kind of wish that he had stayed at home and retired, and I don't think that he should have to worry about this kind of thing. But then I guess there's money to be made and so forth. And the one that I really want to speak, and I don't know if he speaks anymore, if he's even there anymore, is the Dread Pirate Roberts. I always liked it when he spoke. I remember he did an interview on Christmas once, and I was like, man, that is balls. There is a guy with the big balls, just putting them out there. And I don't think this speech is going to be that. I don't think he's going to launch Silk Road 2 with just unpasteurized milk or something. I don't think I seriously hope he doesn't, attack the government again and so forth. You got lucky once there, buddy. But Dan, what do you think? It's going to be a big conference in Vegas. I also have thoughts on that. I think it's gone a little overboard. It's a little sellout. The tickets are $500 and they're raising the price on you if you didn't buy them already. And for $500, you really got to be there on a corporate account. You got to be there trying to generate some leads, trying to do some business. It's not really a novelty convention where we go and have fun. And that's to say nothing about the $10,000 whale passes, which is kind of offensive. And they've done it brilliantly, though. The whale passes allow you to the backstage, and they put the speakers in with the whales. So kudos to you. Hats off. Fantastic convention organization. But it does seem very stratified, very class-oriented, very not early Bitcoiner. I don't know who you would meet there after they paid $500. Dan, what do you think? Are you as cynical as I am about these large conventions, or is this just a sign of Bitcoin's success?
Actually, I thought you were going to say it would be much higher than. I think $500. To be fair, in as a Vegas conference is actually quite cheap. I've paid way more than that for ones in Europe before, but they're obviously not Bitcoin ones, but kind of crypto ones. But they were very kind of, what's the word, over commercialized, right? You know, the very um just overboard, right? The kind of, unfortunately, they were many of the, 2017, 18, 19, they were the kind of blockchain conferences, and they were very quite, quite pricey. I think $500 isn't too bad on the grand scheme of things, but $10,000 is crazy. And even now, that's what, still like 0.9, 0.8 Bitcoin. Now, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of Bitcoin if you're going to be paying that. So I can understand that only kind of huge businesses that want to rub shoulders will be paying those sums, and they've got cash to burn. It'll probably end up finding a load of ICOs that have, or token kind of companies that have raised money that will just be burning that on going there and trying to convince Bitcoiners to buy their shitcoin.
And finally, we've got one more really short story because we keep a track of these issues. Sam Bankman-Fried has been moved to one of California's most dangerous prisons. Sam Bankman-Fried previously was in New York, where on his cell block included Puff Daddy, Sean P. Diddy Combs, and it seemed basically relatively safe. He gave an interview with Tucker Carlson that was against the rules, and now he's been moved to Victorville down by Los Angeles, which is nicknamed Victimville. It does not sound like a very safe prison. It says you have to be in a car or a group of other gang members sorted by race. So it sounds very bad for Sam Bankman-Fried. I don't know that it was a good idea to do that interview. I guess I'll respond first. Well, again, Sam took these people's lives. He took their pensions. He took the money from one account and he used it to pay Tom Brady for advertising. They were all on smart drugs. They were all having a threesome or a coupling or whatever we're calling it. I forget, a menage a many.
Poly something.
Poly something. Yeah,
Polycule.
they're polycooled. They're polycooled up and they're polyamorous. And we haven't even gotten the tell-all book on that yet, but we're going to hear that soon enough, I'm sure. So I don't really root for the guy, but that said, it sounds awful. Of course, Solzhenitsyn said you can tell a lot about a society, about how they treat their prisoners. And here in the United States, we seem to treat our prisoners pretty terribly. While certainly these people have broken the law, the rules of society, and that's a complex issue if you punish them and so forth. But it seems like we punish them a little more than we say we're going to when you go to a place like this that's so unsafe. So Sam is a human being, and I feel bad for him, even though he wrecked all these people's lives. Dan, what do you think? He's in Victimville. Doesn't sound good.
Well, it's definitely a step down from hanging out with P Diddy, right? Or not, obviously, because obviously P Diddy's charges are pretty hardcore. Although even he seems like he's going to kind of he's got a lot of loopholes around how they gathered evidence that may get him out of the mess he's in. I say the mess, as in the consequences of what he may or may have done or not have done allegedly, however you term that legally. But it does seem like he's going into the frying pan, into the fire right now. That you would have thought that that they would be a bit more lenient on him. It seems like he's kind of had it cushy, really. So to be going to Victimville is going to be quite a step down for him. I didn't see the Tucker Carlson interview, but judging by his previous ones before he was even arrested, it sounds like it could have been a bit of a like slight car crash material. Didn't really do him any good. The fact is that he destroyed a lot of lives. He commingled with funds. He was quite open with that. But at the same time, there's a lot of scammers out there, and it is kind of unfair to pick on some that and give them crazy sentences and not go after the rest of them. There were so many ICO scams, not just in 2023, 22, when FTX was kind of made it big, but before that, and they got away with absolute murder, raising funds, money laundering, and all sorts. And none of them are in jail. And maybe they should be. Maybe they're going to do a sweep afterwards and go through it all. Maybe there's going to be some new SEC directive, which is to go after the actual proper scammers, like fortunately, like Sam Bankman-Fried, and get more people in jail. But it doesn't sound very good for him at the moment. Obviously, the jail doesn't sound very good, but he did affect a lot of people's lives. Although didn't they get a payout? And was that payout quite good? Because obviously Bitcoin kind of pumped, so they did quite well. And Bitfinex aren't going to be getting the funds, are they? That's going to be going straight to the customers. So hopefully the customers of FTX that went through a hell actually got something back for all their troubles.
Well, that would be quite something if Bitfinex gives the funds back to the customers. I haven't heard that, Dan. So
I thought I read that they
it's
had
quite
to.
possible. I haven't read it myself. So
Oh yeah, I'll just double check.
that would be quite something because Bitfinex famously printed those tokens and they gave everyone a token and they said, okay, you're made whole with the token. Then the token price dropped 50%. And allegedly, I think the company bought back a bunch of those debt tokens at a lower price. Going back to SBF and what he's been doing, we did have that leaked piece of paper a couple of weeks ago where it was his plan if he got into trouble. And part of that plan was to go on Tucker and to become a conservative. And that's why he's been saying, as we've been saying the whole time, but people keep ignoring, he gave to the Democrats publicly, he gave to the Republicans privately. He bribed both sides. But yes, now he seems to be trying his plan to go right. I think it's working out terrible for him. I don't think it's safe for him there in that prison, even though I don't like him. Everyone in the chat seems to kind of agree. Prisons in America are terrible. He should beat someone up on the first day. Inspiring Formula says they were smoking meth, doing orgies, playing League of Legends, yet somehow convinced people to give him their resources. And it's horrible. And I don't know what to think about it. The first thing that comes to my head, and it's awful, is white privilege. Sam Bankman-Fried with his Stanford parents had all the right background and all the right history where you as a fellow Wall Street guy would say, sure, I'll give him 100,000 or I'll give him 10 million or whatever it is. So I think that was a big part of it as well, whether we like to admit that or not. Now let's go to the exit question.
Oh, just quickly, so I want to clarify because I don't want to spread false information. It was Bitfinex that said they read one of the court cases that saying that the hacked Bitcoin isn't going back to Bitfinex, it's going back to customers. But that was I think Tavano, the Ethereum from my Ether wallet. She posted that actually that was more to do with the case with Ilya and Heather, the crocodile, whatever, the crocodile rapper.
Razzle Khan.
That's it.
Yeah. Who I still don't think they've released that movie. I think they've been successful in blocking that movie. There was a Netflix documentary that was supposed to be about them, and I guess a lot of the footage of them was from one of their friends' weddings, and they may have stalled the thing, successfully suing that they had a right to privacy at the wedding. We'll have to see how that turns out. I don't think they do. I think they are surprised, like they were surprised to be in the documentary. They went to the wedding. But let's move on to the exit question. They're already talking about it in the chat, but I think we could do it as well. Dan, do you think that SBF will get a pardon? Ross Ulbricht got a pardon. SBF has a lot of friends. Donald Trump seems to give out pardons if you donate a certain amount of money and votes. I'm not sure that SBF has the votes, but maybe he could get the money.
Oh, sorry. What was the exit question? Sorry, I was.
Will SBF get a pardon from Trump?
I don't think so. I think it impacted too many people, and I think that, and even though he apparently took dark money from, he took money from both sides, because visually it was a lot of mainly from a front-facing perspective, that he was a big Democrat donator. I think he's probably going to be punished by Trump for that, and the dark money is not going to be taken into consideration. Trump will just be like, he's a big Democrat supporter. He'll probably be perhaps a bit sour, maybe thinking that those donations had a lot to do with him losing the 2020 election. So I don't think that pardon's going to happen.
I think you're right. He was one of the largest donors to the Democratic Party during the 2020 election, which is definitely something Trump could take as a grudge. Additionally, I think we've already had our one miracle crypto pardon with Ross Ulbricht, and kind of a secondary miracle with the Tornado Cash developers. having their sentences lightened and on their way out. But as far as a pardon, maybe if they paid him enough, right? But even then, that would be one of the normal pardons, like the end of term pardon. So that would mean 4 more years in jail for Sam, which if he's in this horrible Los Angeles Victorville prison, it doesn't seem like it could make 4 more years. And even then, that's if the term ends, because you pardon people at the end of your term. And if you're going to get more terms or just not going to have an election, then you don't even have to pardon people. You could just do it if you wanted to. And he's already kind of demonstrated that with the Ross Ulbricht pardon. So we're running out of time for this show. Dan, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
I suppose my story of the week, because I haven't been on for a while, would probably be that I did eventually write a new rap, which I did like quite a while ago. So go on, check out on. It's not pinned, but I might pin it actually. It's only a few posts down because I haven't really tweeted much. But it does have a bit about Doge and stuff and about Trump in there and stuff. I'm quite proud of it. It's actually to dare I say it's to P Diddy. Like the track is P Diddy's "Can't Nobody Hold Me Down." So it's got a lot of oddball stuff in there, but yeah, check it out. That's pretty much my news of the week. I haven't been really working on much stuff, moving house and stuff, so things are very hectic at the moment. But yeah, check out the tune. And it's the recording's really bad. I'm not as good as I'm really I don't know what's the word. I haven't greased the engine very well, so I tried to use Fruity Loops and didn't really do a good job of it. So I'm really not good at promoting my stuff, am I? But it doesn't sound very good, as in the lyrics are okay and stuff, as in the recording didn't go very well. So I'm going to try and record it properly and do it again soon. But yeah, check it out. I'm pretty proud of it. It's lyrically, it's definitely my best tune. So go and check it out. It's terrible.
All right. Well, it sounds like Dan might have a new
Cryptopoly on Twitter.
Cryptopoly, which is not the same as Cryptoraptor, so that's hard to understand.
Yeah.
But
someone tried to sell me that for 1 Ethereum, like in 2017, Cryptoraptor, and I was like, oh, I just didn't want to, I just didn't want to pay someone like 2017, 2020, I think it was. And I didn't want to pay like $4,000 for it. And I wish I did now, but Cryptopoly I'm still happy with because it's like Monopoly with crypto. And loads of people still try and buy Cryptopoly off me, actually, who try and build, lots of people who constantly try and make a crypto game based on Monopoly and offer to buy Cryptopoly off me. So who knows? One day I might trade. I might do some sort of, smart contract trade from Cryptopoly to Cryptoraptor and make things less confusing.
That does sound great. If only the people who owned Cryptoraptor wanted to start their own Monopoly game, everything would work out perfectly. I don't have that much this week. Like everybody else, I've been panicking and not panicking and panicking and not panicking and thinking that the world's economy was going to be crushed forever to thinking that it's going to come right back the next day. So that's not been very fun. So if you've been going through that, I've been going through that as well. Everyone's talking about Parker Posey and the new season of The White Lotus. I haven't seen The White Lotus. I watched the first season. I guess I'm horribly behind. But I do like Parker Posey. She was in this movie in 1995 called Party Girl. It's an independent film. It's a great film. She dances. She's so hot. She's a librarian. She learns about the Dewey Decimal System. I was watching part of it this morning, and it is such a time capsule. In the very beginning, she's stuck in prison, and they give her a rotary phone. For you kids, she had to reach out and turn the wheel to get the numbers. It wasn't push button. And it was, of course, a real phone with a cord and everything. But to see the library with no computers anywhere, no research stations, no nothing, and to hear these librarians talk about technology and to check the books in and out, and a guy's upset because the books are out of order on the shelf, and she's learning the Dewey Decimal System, which seems really valuable and part of her being responsible at the time, but seems really ridiculous and stupid now. But that's just because only small libraries use the Dewey Decimal System. The college libraries have a different system. But I enjoy Party Girl, and you should check it out if you haven't seen it. It's independent, it's small, it's 1995, but if you've seen Parker Posey recently, you could go back in time and see her when she was young. And I had another thought today about the movie where I was watching it, and a big part of the movie is about Camus' book, Sisyphus, and the myth of Sisyphus. And he says that you must imagine Sisyphus happy. And I had a kind of realization today while I was watching it. I was like, what she does in the beginning of the movie, she's kind of like Sisyphus. Every night she has a party and she rolls it uphill, but eventually it becomes too late and the party fades. But then she has to do it again. She has to start another party. And that in a way, part of like just her coming to responsibility as an adult, just the normal part of that, I could also see a little Sisyphus in there, that she's directly learning from the books she's being exposed to in the library, and that it's existential. It's all or nothing. She's a party girl. So it's a lot deeper than you might think. So check out Party Girl 1995 with Parker Posey. Bonus, one of the supporting actors, I realized this far too late, but he was in this. He's super young. Then he's in Half Baked. He's one of the supporting characters. And then he's in the TV show Weeds, and he's a big time gangster. So incredible career for that guy. I think his name's like Guillermo Diaz, and he's fantastic. He's in Party Girl as well. So
I love the one thing I love about watching an old film is seeing someone that like who you know now, like nowadays, and you're like, oh my god, you notice them in the background or something as an extra, and you're like, wow, it's that dude. Like the guy from in Breaking Bad, the guy in the wheelchair, right? The guy in the wheelchair is Ace Ventura's landlord. Like, it's crazy.
oh yeah, well, that guy's a big character actor. He's in a lot of different stuff. You'll see him all over. But this one's so strange because I looked up the cast recently, so I'll go ahead and bring it up here on the screen. Parker Posey obviously became famous from the film, was the indie darling. She's in dozens of films, and of course the new White Lotus season that everyone won't stop talking about. There's also Guillermo Diaz, as I talked, who's in the other things, and Liev Schreiber, who's a big actor as well. He's in a lot of great movies. And then you got this guy who's like the number two, like the lead in the film, Omar Townsend. Never in anything ever again. Played Mustafa and then disappeared because this is an indie movie shooting in I don't want to say New York or something. And you come on set for a couple of days, you shoot it, goes in the can, and you move on with your life. So it's very interesting how this happens. Also interesting, I saw Val Kilmer again yesterday. He was in the MacGyver takeoff, MacGruber, with Will Forte, and it was pretty terrible. But it was kind of neat to see Val Kilmer as a bad guy. And I saw that we talked about Val Kilmer last week. And one of the most amazing quotes I've seen in the Val Kilmer celebration of life was one of his friends who worked with him on Tombstone. They said, was he difficult on Tombstone? What was it like working with Val Kilmer? And he said, well, I never met Val Kilmer while working on Tombstone. I met Doc Holliday. And I thought that was just what a celebration of like his dedication to the craft. And that he also felt by staying in character, he'd raise the other actors and they would go up a level as well because they're thinking about their character so much. So interesting stuff. Still a great chance for you guys to give us a thumbs up down below. We're going to go check the chat, see what's going on. They say the price is going to 600 billion. No Empire Records, but another 90s nostalgia. I loved Empire Records too. We had a, what's it called? Rex Manning Day just a few days ago, April 8th. Rex Manning Day. But yeah, check out Party Girl. It's good stuff. They say Hector Salamanca is also in the TV show Oz. He's in prison with SBF now. So, but thanks so much to everybody for joining us. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Until next week, bye-bye.